Story number 1, package swap. I was halfway through a logo revision when someone knocked on my apartment door. 3 sharp raps, very deliberate, my cat scattered from the windowsill. Through the peephole I saw a man in his 40s wearing a brown uniform shirt with a delivery company patch on the sleeve. He held a clipboard against his chest and was looking down at it, not at the door. I opened it with the chain still on. "Afternoon," he said, glancing up. "I'm here about a package delivery from yesterday. Your apartment 308. "That's right. Says here you signed for a package around 2 in the afternoon yesterday, but we've got a flag in the system that it was never scanned as delivered. Just need to verify the signature." He tapped the clipboard with his pen. I shook my head. "I was home all day yesterday. Nobody knocked." "You sure about that?" He tilted his head slightly, still pleasant. "Because we've got your signature right here. I didn't sign anything. Maybe the building manager took it downstairs. She does that sometimes when people aren't home." Building manager. He nodded slowly, like he was considering this. "Could be. Mind if I show you the signature real quick? Just to make sure we're talking about the same delivery." I hesitated, then unhooked the chain. He was a delivery driver. This was a normal thing. I opened the door wider and he took a half step forward, not quite into my apartment, but close enough that I could smell something sharp and chemical coming from the clipboard. Like fresh printer ink, the kind that hasn't dried yet. He turned the clipboard toward me, holding it at an angle so I had to lean in to see the screen embedded in it. Except it wasn't a screen. It was a tablet, the kind with a stylus, and the signature on it was a loose scribble that could have been anyone's name. "That's not my signature," I said. "Look closer." He pulled out his phone with his other hand, thumbing it awake. "Maybe this'll help." He turned the phone toward me. The screen showed a photo of my bedroom. My bed, unmade, the blue comforter I'd kicked off that morning still bunched at the foot. The angle was from outside, through the window. I could see myself in the photo, lying on my side, asleep. My face partially buried in the pillow. I stopped breathing. He swiped to the next photo. Me standing in front of my dresser in a tank top and underwear, pulling a shirt over my head. Then another. Me at my desk, right where I'd been sitting 20 minutes ago, the glow of my monitor lighting my face. "Just need to verify the delivery location," he said. His voice was still calm, almost friendly. "You're usually at your desk by 9 in the morning. You take your coffee with oat milk, no sugar. You go for a run every Tuesday and Thursday around 6:30 in the evening, same route through Laurelhurst Park. You get takeout from the Thai place on Burnside most Fridays." He was standing in my doorway now, his shoulder against the frame, not blocking it exactly, but close enough. "Your bedroom window faces east," he continued. "You don't close the curtains most nights. You've got a cat, orange tabby, maybe 8 or 9 years old. You talk to her a lot when you're working. Yesterday you were on a video call around 3 in the afternoon. Wore the grey sweater." My hands were shaking. I couldn't feel my fingers. "So about this package," he said. "I just need to confirm." I shoved him. I didn't think about it. I just put both palms against his chest and pushed as hard as I could. He wasn't expecting it. He stumbled backward, his foot catching the edge of the top step, and then he was falling, his arms windmilling as he tried to catch himself on the railing. The clipboard clattered down ahead of him. I slammed the door and threw the deadbolt, then the chain. Then I ran to my phone on the kitchen counter and dialed 911. My voice didn't sound like my voice when the operator answered. I told her someone had been taking pictures of me through my window, that he'd come to my door, that I'd pushed him and locked him out. She asked if he was still there. I said I didn't know. She told me to stay on the line and away from the door. She said officers were on the way. I went to the peephole. He was standing at the bottom of the stairs, brushing off his uniform shirt. He looked up at my door like he knew I was watching, then bent down and picked up the clipboard. He walked back up slowly, calmly, and placed something on my doormat. A small box, maybe 6 inches square, wrapped in brown paper. Then he walked back down the stairs and out of sight. The police arrived maybe 8 minutes later. 2 officers, a man and a woman. I told them everything while standing in my doorway, the deadbolt still thrown. They took the box with gloved hands and asked me questions about the man's appearance, his vehicle, whether I'd seen him before. I hadn't. They checked the stairwell and the street, no sign of him. They asked if I wanted to open the box. I said no. They said they'd take it in and call me. The call came 3 hours later. The woman officer, her voice careful and measured. The box had contained 2 things: a set of keys. Copies of my apartment keys, she said. Front door and deadbolt. They'd been cut recently, probably within the last week, and a piece of paper. A floor plan of my apartment, hand-drawn but accurate. Every room labeled. My bedroom marked with a red X. An arrow pointing from the window to a note in the margin that said, "Sightline from 412 across alley." I looked out my kitchen window across the narrow alley to the building opposite mine. 4 stories, older brick, same as mine. "The building across from you has been vacant since July," the officer said. "Owner's doing a full renovation, no tenants, no workers on site for the last 3 months. We're sending someone over there now." I thanked her and hung up. I went to my bedroom and looked at the window. I hadn't closed the curtains in weeks, maybe longer. The building across the alley had dark windows, most of them covered with brown paper from the inside, except for one on the 4th floor, directly across from mine. That window was uncovered, just dark glass reflecting nothing. I pulled my curtains closed. I haven't opened them since. Story number 2, Night Audit. I'm 3 hours into the overnight shift at the roadside inn when the phone rings. The caller ID shows room 12. "Front desk, this is Marcus." "Yeah, hi." The voice is calm, almost too calm. "Can you tell me why you've been standing outside my window for the past 10 minutes? I glance at the clock. 3:17 in the morning. "I'm sorry, sir, but I've been at the desk. I did a parking lot check about 15 minutes ago, but I only walked past your room once. You might have seen my reflection in the glass." "No." He's still calm. "Someone in your uniform has been standing completely still outside my window. Same polo shirt, same build. I can see him right now." My stomach tightens. I pull out the security monitor and cycle through the cameras. The parking lot view loads, grainy and washed out under the sodium lights. There's a figure standing exactly where he described, facing room 12. Dark polo, same height as me, completely motionless. "I see him," I say. "Stay inside, lock your door. I'm going to check it out." I grab my keys and push through the front door. The Arkansas night is humid and still. My shoes scrape against the asphalt as I walk toward the spot, but there's nobody there. Just empty parking spaces and the hum of the ice machine. I do a full circle around the building. Nothing. When I come back through the lobby, there's a man standing at the front desk. "Hey there." He smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. "I'm in room 7. Any chance you could help me move something heavy from my truck? Just need an extra set of hands for a minute." "I can't leave the desk unattended, sir." "Sorry, it'll take 30 seconds. Right outside." "I really can't." He nods slowly, still smiling. "Okay, no problem." He doesn't leave. He moves to the left side of the counter, leaning against it like he's settling in. I hear footsteps behind me and turn. The guest from room 12 is coming down the hallway, approaching from the right side of the desk. They're boxing me in. I notice it in the same instant I notice what the man from room 7 is holding against his leg. Bolt cutters. The handles are pressed against his jeans, but the cutting head is visible, dull metal catching the fluorescent light. My mouth floods with a metallic taste. The lights overhead buzz louder than they should. "Gentlemen, I need you to step back from the desk." Neither of them moves. They're coordinating without speaking, closing the distance from both sides. The man from room 12 is watching the front door. The man from room 7 is watching me. I step backward and hit the silent alarm under the desk with my knee. The button clicks. No sound, no indication it worked, but dispatch should be getting the signal. Step back, now. The man from room 7 tilts his head. We just need you to stay put for a bit. I back through the door to the office and slam it shut, jamming the desk chair under the handle. My hands are shaking. I grab the fire extinguisher from the wall mount and grip it like a bat, positioning myself in the corner where I can see the door. They don't try to force it. I hear them talking on the other side, voices low and calm. One of them says, making sure he stays put. The other one laughs quietly. I pull out my phone and call 911. The dispatcher answers and I give her everything. 2 men, bolt cutters, silent alarm already triggered. She tells me units are 7 minutes out and to stay on the line. While she's talking, I remember the registration cards. I need to give her descriptions. I pull open the file drawer and find the cards for rooms 7 and 12, checked in earlier tonight. My hands stop moving. The address line on both cards, it's my address. My actual home address, the apartment I share with my sister, 20 minutes from here. Not a motel address, not a fake address. Mine. The emergency contact lines. My mother's full name. My sister's full name. Written in 2 different handwriting styles, but both accurate. Middle names included. Sir, are you still there? Yeah. My voice sounds far away. They have my family's information. Officers are 3 minutes out. Stay where you are. I hear a vehicle pull up outside. Doors opening. Radio chatter. The voices on the other side of the office door go quiet. When the police clear me to come out, the lobby is empty. The 2 men are gone. Officers check rooms 7 and 12. Both doors are unlocked. Both rooms are completely empty. No luggage, no personal items. Beds still made. It's like nobody ever stayed there. The officer taking my statement asks to see the registration cards. I hand them over, pointing out my address and my family's names. He bags them as evidence. When did they check in? I don't know. I came on at midnight. They were already registered. He frowns. Who was working before you? Nobody. I'm the only night auditor. The evening shift leaves at 11. So who checked them in? I don't have an answer. He asks to see the security footage. We go back to the monitor and I pull up the recording from earlier tonight, starting at 11 when I arrived. The timestamp shows 11:43. I'm standing at the front desk. A man approaches. I smile. We talk. I can't hear the audio, but I'm clearly checking him in, running his card, handing him a key. Room 7. He walks away. 12 minutes later, another man. Same process. Room 12. I watch myself do it. My movements are natural, normal. I'm not being forced. I'm just doing my job. I have no memory of either interaction. The officer is watching my face. You don't remember this? No. They take my statement. They take the registration cards. They tell me they'll increase patrols in my neighborhood and suggest I stay somewhere else for a few days. They ask if I've been feeling unwell, if I've taken any medication, if there's any reason I might have lost time. I tell them no. I tell them I'm fine. I'm studying for my nursing degree. I know the signs of a concussion, a stroke, a seizure. I didn't have any of those things, but I checked them in. I watched myself do it. The officers leave around 4:30. My replacement arrives at 7. I don't tell her what happened. I just give her the log and go home. My sister is awake, making coffee. She asks how my shift was. I tell her it was quiet. Story number 3. Trail marker. I've been hiking the trails near Shenandoah Valley for almost 6 years now, every Saturday morning when the weather allows. I know the parking areas, the trail markers, the spots where the path gets muddy after rain. That's why I didn't think twice when I pulled into the lot that morning and saw the orange surveyor's ribbons. The fog was thick, the kind that settles in the valleys and doesn't burn off until noon. I locked my car, adjusted my pack, and walked toward the trailhead. The ribbons were tied at eye level on the trees, bright orange plastic strips that caught what little light filtered through the fog. They led from the parking area toward the main trail entrance, spaced maybe 20 feet apart. I assumed the Forestry Service had been through recently. They do maintenance work in the fall, clearing deadfall, marking sections that need attention. The ribbons looked fresh, not faded or torn. I followed them into the trees. The trail felt different almost immediately. The fog was denser here, and the usual morning sounds were muted. I could smell wet moss, that deep, earthy scent that comes from places where water sits and doesn't drain. My boots found the familiar packed dirt of the main trail, but the ribbons kept going, leading slightly to the left where the undergrowth was thicker. I hesitated for a moment, then kept following them. Maintenance routes don't always follow the hiking trails. Sometimes they cut through to access problem areas directly. The ribbons led me through a section of dense laurel and mountain ivy. Branches caught on my jacket. I had to duck under low-hanging limbs. The ground was softer here, more give under my feet. And I realized, maybe 10 minutes in, that I hadn't heard a single bird since leaving the parking lot. That should have registered more strongly than it did. The ribbons brought me to a small clearing, maybe 30 feet across. The fog hung in the branches overhead. I stopped and pulled out my phone to check the compass app. According to the reading, I'd been walking almost due west. The loop trail I always took headed north from the parking area. I'd be going in the wrong direction. I turned around and retraced my steps, following the ribbons back the way I'd come. But the spacing seemed off now. There were more of them than I remembered, tied on trees I didn't recognize. The undergrowth looked the same in every direction. I kept walking, certain I was heading back toward the main trail. I came out in the clearing again. That's when I looked down and saw the boot prints in the mud near the center of the clearing. They were fresh, the edges still sharp. They weren't mine. My boots have a distinctive waffle tread. These were smooth-soled work boots or hunting boots, and they circled the clearing in a slow loop before heading back into the trees on the far side. I stood very still and listened. The fog deadened sound, but I could hear my own breathing, the drip of condensation from the leaves. Nothing else. I pulled out my phone. No signal, which wasn't unusual this deep in the park. I opened the compass app again and marked the direction back toward the parking area, ignoring the ribbons entirely this time. I'd bushwhack if I had to. I made it maybe 50 yards before I saw more ribbons. They were everywhere now, tied on trees in every direction, and I couldn't tell which ones I'd followed originally. The fog pressed in closer. I kept walking, checking the compass every few steps, forcing myself to move in a straight line. I ended up in the clearing a third time. The boot prints were still there, but now there was a second set, overlapping the first, and a third set that looked newer, the mud still dark and wet. That's when I saw him. He was standing at the far edge of the clearing, just inside the tree line. Hunting gear, orange vest, dark jacket. He wasn't moving, just standing there, facing my direction. The fog made it hard to see details, but I could make out his shape, the outline of his shoulders. I didn't look directly at him. I adjusted my pack, pulled out my water bottle, took a drink. Casual, like I hadn't seen him. My other hand found the bear spray clipped to my belt and unsnapped the safety strap. I turned and walked back into the trees, not following any ribbons this time. I picked a direction based on the compass and moved fast, pushing through the undergrowth, not caring about the noise I made. I listened for footsteps behind me but couldn't hear anything over my own movement. The ground started to slope upward. Good. The parking area was on higher ground than the interior trails. I kept climbing, forcing my way through thick brush, my jacket catching on branches, my lungs burned. I didn't stop. I heard it before I saw it, the distant sound of traffic on the highway that ran past the park entrance. I adjusted my direction and kept moving toward the sound. The fog was thinner here, and I could see farther between the trees. I came out of the woods 50 yards from the parking area, off the main trail entirely. My car was where I'd left it, the only vehicle in the lot. I ran to it, fumbling for my keys. That's when I touched the hood. It was warm. Not hot, but warm to the touch. I'd been gone for over 2 hours. The morning was cool, the fog still heavy. The hood should have been cold. I unlocked the door and got in, locking it immediately behind me. My hands were shaking. I started the engine, and that's when I noticed the seat. I always keep the driver's seat in the same position. I'm 5'7", and I have the seat set exactly where I need it. But now it was pushed forward close enough that my knees hit the steering wheel. Someone taller had moved it. I adjusted it back, put the car in reverse, and that's when I saw the ribbon. A single orange surveyor's ribbon tucked under the windshield wiper on the driver's side. It hadn't been there when I parked. I drove out of that parking area faster than I should have, watching the rearview mirror until the trailhead disappeared around a curve. I didn't see anyone. I didn't see another car. I haven't been back to that trail. I called the park service the next day and asked about maintenance work in that area. They said they haven't scheduled anything for that section in over a month, and they don't use orange ribbons for trail marking. They use yellow. I still hike, but not alone anymore, and not in that park. And I don't follow markers unless I'm absolutely certain I know where they lead.